If you're like most businesses, money doesn't grow on trees. But also, if you rely on it as your main way to inspire and motivate your people, you're never going to have enough money. Recognition, meaning, and growth are more powerful than money alone. So how do you tap into that, especially if budgets are tight and you don't have that magic money tree? Hi, I'm Kathy Doherty, the People Navigator, and I help small business owners and people leaders get the best from their teams without the stress. Today, I'm sharing 5 free, powerful ways to inspire your staff. I often say that you can't actually motivate individuals. Motivation really comes from within. However, you can create the environment that inspires them, that then drives them in terms of their inner motivation to achieve, to engage. And if you're a small business, you won't have the deep pockets of those huge organizations. So what can you do as a small business? I remember one of Dad's employees left the business, went to a job with a bigger organization, and within a year, he was approaching Dad to ask if he could come back. And it wasn't about the money. It was about everything else in the environment that Dad shaped, because he knew he couldn't compete with the organizations with those huge deep pockets. He had to provide something different, something more, and that was driven in the human connection space. And this is what I'm going to cover today, because my clients who have followed my advice and guidance on this have experienced exactly the same. Make people feel seen. The biggest way to inspire your people that drives their inner motivation is recognition. We're all human beings. We want to be seen. We want to be recognized and appreciated for who we are. We don't want to be corporate clones. We don't want to be a faceless individual in the crowd. Think of how it feels if you're at a concert, a music concert, and the person on stage looks in your direction and you feel they've looked at you. How does that feel that you have been noticed? You have been recognized. It's the same thing in business. It's the same thing with your team. Recognize the individuals for the individuals that they are. Remember to say thank you. Be specific. Acknowledge all the effort that's gone in, the commitment, the time, especially where maybe they've rearranged something either personally or sometime else in their schedule to help you get that result. Don't just focus on the end result, but the actual efforts that went into achieving it and the individual contribution towards achieving that. How much does that cost? People repeat what gets noticed, and the others who see that, they want to be seen also. They will do what they can to replicate that in their own way to get the recognition as well. Give them some autonomy. Nobody likes to be micromanaged. If you have ever been micromanaged, how does that feel? I remember a colleague who had been promoted because myself and another colleague who were less experienced ruled ourselves out. That colleague who got promoted turned into a monster. They got high on their power and decided they had to micromanage everything. Unless you worshipped them and thought they were amazing, they micromanaged you. And yeah, that didn't go down well. There will be certain things within somebody's role that you cannot give them autonomy over. However, there's always things that you can. The more autonomy you give somebody, delegate it effectively to give them the real information they need to be able to get on, to guide them as to how to implement that, to use that autonomy to be effective and efficient, the better it is for you, because then they're not tethered to you for every single thing that needs done, whilst also building their self-esteem and inspiring them to give more, to be more, to support you better, because they don't want to be tied to your apron strings, and you don't want a team that's tied to your apron strings either. That will prevent you achieving what you want to achieve and doing the things that you want to do that you enjoy. And if you're starting from scratch with somebody in this area, start small, review, reflect and repeat, but build up their confidence and their ownership. Start small and build from there. There's bound to be something. Show how their work matters. People need to understand the why. Once they understand their purpose, why they're having to do something, why they're being asked to do something, they take a different approach. They want to know that not only they matter as an individual, and they may well already know that on a personal level, but in the workplace place? Why do they matter? What purpose do they serve? Give them the context. I remember taking over an HR team many years ago. What I would do, first of all, when I would take over a new team, the first question I would begin with is, do you understand why we are here, what our purpose is? And more often than not, the responses were to make sure people follow procedure, to fill in the right forms. And I asked, does that inspire you? Does that motivate you? And you could tell it didn't. And they would say, nah. And we would have a conversation and I would illustrate to them the bigger picture, the whole reason why there is an HR function. And once they began to feed into and understand that bigger picture, they felt they understood their purpose within the business. And the paperwork policing side was just a tiny element of it. They understood how they could really be of benefit to the business, to the employees, and it didn't need to be a conflict of interest between protecting the business and looking after employees. You can actually do both, and it doesn't have to clash. Quite often, they're interconnected. Have you had a conversation with your people, or when you bring somebody in, and explain to them the bigger why their role exists, why they are fulfilling that role and not somebody else? Do you know yourself? And it doesn't matter what role it is in the business, there's a reason why it exists. Share that and get their feedback into it as well. And ask them, how can we be better? And what happens when something goes wrong? What's the impact of that? Have those sorts of conversations before something goes wrong. And it's more than likely that it will reduce the potential of things going wrong, because people will be more conscious when they do their work, because they understand the bigger picture. It's not just that tiny task, they see the context around it and the ripple effects. Create opportunities to grow. You don't need a big training budget, and growth doesn't necessarily mean the clone escalator through the ranks. Growth can mean breadth and depth. Give them a project that challenges them and help them identify what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, what inspires them and energizes them, and what are the mood hoovers, what are the things that really drains their energy. And it takes them maybe 10 times longer to complete it, because they're just not that way focused, that potentially that could be done by somebody else. A team who works to their strengths is a much happier team. And ask for their input in that. Now, this will require a level of self-awareness, and that might be the journey in itself. That's where the growth comes in. Also consider letting them shadow you, and this might be part of what naturally happens when you bring people in, that they then shadow you for a period of time, but also potentially let them shadow you in things that maybe aren't directly their tasks, but it will all have a bearing on what they do and how they do it. Again, you're helping them see the bigger picture, how they fit in this environment, that what they do matters, that they are recognized. When people feel that they are growing, they are developing, they are becoming more. And what growth means can mean different things to different people. So ask your team, what does development, what does growth, what do these things mean to you as an individual? What does that look like? Paint me the picture, because what you understand by growth may be very different to what they understand, especially in a smaller business where you're not going to have all those different levels of hierarchy. You're more than likely to be a flatter business, which the benefits are a more direct line to the leaders rather than going through tiers of management who are all in there trying to protect their position. And it all becomes empire building and very, very draining. So the benefit of your smaller business, what are those benefits? And what does that growth look like? And how can their growth help you too? Involve them in your decisions. I remember Dad would discuss his business issues with me, the decisions that he was facing. When I was about 14, not only would he be handing me CVs to sift through, to shortlist who he should interview, but he would also discuss what was going on in the business, the type of decisions he would make. What did I think? It always delved a lot deeper than what you would be asked at school, where, what do you think? Okay, moved on to the next pupil. It was very different. It was an actual conversation. And that really grew my insights as a teenager. Imagine if you can have that in your team, that you can ask them for their opinions, their insights, which also will give you different perspectives. You will have different eyes and ears, different approaches, giving you very different perspectives on the same issue, which is more than likely to broaden your perspectives and help you see things from different angles and see different opportunities. Let your people shape how things are done, especially if they're involved in executing them. Give them a say. Even if you can't act on every single thing, bank it. Note it down. Keep it somewhere, because at some point, they may well become possible. People don't expect miracles, but it's nice for them to feel they have influenced, that they can help shape, because that makes a massive difference between you and those huge corporates, where in those huge corporates, the individuals are just a number, easily replaced. They're just a number on a spreadsheet, and that's all they're treated as. In your business, in your smaller business, every individual has impact. And this is a way that you can demonstrate that you value them as the individual that they are, that they can then help shape the organization, and who knows, potentially identify opportunities you didn't even know existed. Value their brains, not just the brawn. You don't need to spend money to boost somebody's motivation, to inspire them. You just need to show them that they matter. Which one of these tips will you try first? And if you're already doing them, then please share your experiences in the comments below, because other people will get inspired and it may give them ideas. And if we can all make working lives much better for everybody, why not? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this video helpful, I would really appreciate your help and support in growing my channel and reaching more people. So if you could subscribe and give us a like and share this with anybody who you feel may benefit from that. I'm already hearing back from others who have shared it with individuals I'm not in contact with, and they've been reaching out asking for help. So thank you so much, and see you next time.